All right, guys, we're back today with our second episode of Attack on Titan. It's going to be the sixth episode overall, but the second one we're reacting to, the Warhammer Titan.
Right.
Yeah, we're going to do the same thing
Um,
last week pretty much, but yeah, go ahead.
yeah, as always, spoilers for the anime, not for the manga.
Definitely.
We're going to talk about our first impressions first and then move into our analysis or some of the theories that we have for some of the things we saw in the episode. Uh, with that said, you want to just move into our first impressions?
Yeah, definitely. Do you want to start or should I?
I can start. And just a reminder to you all out there, we haven't talked to each other about it yet. So
Yeah.
this is our real just first impressions on it. And wow, this was the episode I think I was waiting for. So
Mhm.
the last episode was like really brainy. You think a lot about like, oh, Reiner and Eren, like these are their thoughts, what they're into now. But this is where everything I wanted to happen happened.
Yes.
We got all of the cool moments pretty much. And maybe you can share yours after you say your first impression. But I think the coolest moment in the episode to me was Eren being like, "All right, right now, Mikasa," and then Mikasa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree.
But yeah, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think this was a great episode. Really, I think this is what Attack on Titan just does so well. It's just like the hype. It builds up the
Mm-hmm.
hype and it just does not disappoint when it hits. When it hits, it hits.
Mm-hmm.
What I will say about this episode compared to the other episodes, I feel like the other episodes were more like it was kind of laying the groundwork as to what's gonna happen. So on those episodes, there was a lot more of like in depth, like, oh, I can analyze this. I feel like in this episode, it was more just like maybe like a few hints as to what was gonna happen later on in the episode, which we'll talk about later. But overall, I think it was just like epic and like everyone wanted to see this. We get to see everyone back from Paradis. We get a bunch of cool entrances with Mikasa and then Levi at the end, which was amazing. I think I preferred the Mikasa scene, but the Levi scene was
Mm-hmm.
very close in comparison.
Unexpected too, because I
Definitely.
think we
Yeah.
all knew that Mikasa was on Marley, but I think we were both a little unclear as to whether Levi was there too.
Yeah, yeah,
So
exactly. I think there was actually one line earlier in the show that we'll talk about once we start to analyze that I think may have been hinting at Levi coming, but we'll see how that goes. Yeah. Um,
yeah.
what other first impressions did you have in
Yeah,
here?
what were your thoughts on I guess just like the new designs of the Paradis people? Like we had seen them in the trailer kind of, but
Yeah,
we really saw them here.
yeah. Um,
Connie has hair, doesn't he?
yeah, he does have hair. That was gonna be my first point as well. Connie, I think he looks really good actually this season. I think
Mm-hmm.
most people look really good. I think Jean has the best glow up.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Maybe on par with Aaron, because Aaron is pretty sexy now. But
Yeah.
Jean of the non-Aaron characters is probably the best glow up. Sasha looks really good. Connie looks really good. Mikasa, I'm actually slightly disappointed. I have to say, she looks
Yeah.
like I don't know, but I mean, I really don't mind how she looks because she's badass regardless.
Mm-hmm.
Levi, I think he doesn't look crazy good, but he doesn't look bad either. I think him and
Yeah.
Mikasa were pretty meh. But I think that I don't know if we talked about this before. Aren't the Ackerman supposed to be kind of ugly anyways?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I
maybe
think
they're leaning more into that, which I think is fair. You know.
yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah,
They give us seasons worth of
exactly.
Ackermans we could simp
Yeah,
over.
yeah,
So it's
exactly. I think everyone knew that like they probably knew everyone loved Levi and like they've all been simping for him, so they were like, let's cut this now.
yeah, come on. This like story about war and death and the
Mhm.
ethics is not the time. Let's just make sure that
Yeah, all anyone can focus on is getting Levi's dick.
yeah. Um yeah, beyond that, I think the action was very good. The
Definitely.
fight with the Warhammer Titan was very cool, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, overall just I think like you may just like I think people can either say that this episode or the previous episode was the best of the season.
Definitely.
But personally, like the hype was too strong for me, and I have to say that this episode was the best
Yeah.
so far.
I agree. I think this one surpassed the last one, but I honestly think they just keep doing better and better each
Mm-hmm.
episode. I think every successive episode that I've seen, I've liked more, except for maybe I think it was three. The one where Ryan has the gun to his head. That one was still
Mm-hmm.
good, but I don't think it was better than the previous one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cool. So I think yeah, we can now do some jumping into the specifics, talking about some interesting things we noted.
Yeah.
Um, off the bat, did you have anything to say? I know you had something marked down from early on.
Yeah, I just think I want to talk about the first 5 minutes where it's kind of Willy with his family and then him on his way to the actual place where he's going. We don't have to really watch it. It's just like scenes like this, and then if
Mm-hmm.
you skip to maybe like 3 minutes around there, you see him and the commander talking in their car on the way. I just
Right.
think that this kind of for sure set in me that he's gonna die, and he even admits that he's gonna die here. I
Right.
know in the previous episode we were talking about how like, oh, is he gonna die? Is he the Warhammer Titan? This
Mm-hmm.
confirmed it for me before we even saw what was gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was also we talked about, it wasn't in the video, but we talked about this previously about how the commander and Willy had a talk. I believe it was
Right.
episode 4
Yeah.
about how there was this house and the foundations are weak and all that. And I think this kind of gives context to that conversation. Basically, like they knew what was happening, and I
Right.
think that's what that conversation earlier on in the season was about.
Yeah. I was thinking the exact same thing because uh, Willie sees it and he says something like, "Oh, a large scale demolition is required,"
Yeah,
um, which I think was like either the commander saying like, "Okay, like you're gonna get attacked, like the whole festival's gonna get attacked," and
yeah,
then that's when Willie sets in this fear, which is reasonable after finding out that he's gonna get attacked.
yeah, and
Um,
he knew that he was gonna die. He like accepted the fate and everything. And
yeah.
we do get to see what his motives are here as well. The fact that he wants to set up the Eldians as like these victims of this horrible crime and make Paradis Eldians the actual villains. And you know,
So, do you think then that Willie is the epitome or like the driving factor behind like the self-hating Eldians or maybe the Paradise-hating Eldians? Because that's been a big thing that's been brought up this whole time. The famous like potato scene with Reiner, like his whole family, they're all Eldians obviously, but they're like super convinced that the Paradise Eldians are devils. Like, do you think that that's the main motivator behind Willie, just like pushing this thing forward and like, or what do you think?
I think, I mean, honestly, I just think it's a social thing at this point because they did have that whole false narrative going on for the longest time, which Willie knew the truth about, but he didn't reveal it. I
Mhm.
think Willie is one of like before he died, obviously, like current days like biggest like advocates for like Eldians are devils, but I don't think it comes from a place of like evil. I think it comes from a place of like our people are suffering and we want them to be helped, but I am not sure yet if it's either like, I think it can go both ways, honestly.
Yeah, I think my thoughts are that Willie, like because the whole mindset behind the Marley Eldians hating the Paradise Eldians is that if we show how much we hate them,
Mhm.
then our oppressors, the Marleyans, are going to like be nicer to us, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Or like bring good things. And so I think Willie just went all in on that because he did that since day one, right?
Mhm.
He painted this false narrative about the Paradise Eldians, and his family was rewarded handsomely. So
That's true.
maybe he's very convinced by this because it literally happened to his family. Like the Tibers were only in the place that they are because they sort of sold out. And that might be a reason that he's like fully bought into this mindset.
I mean, while that is true, or like, that very well it could be true, but I mean, the whole lie that happened was King Fritz's idea, wasn't it? And the Tiber family was actually helping him out, weren't they? We talked about last
Yeah,
episode, or they revealed in
yeah,
the last
yeah. That's right.
episode. But I
Yeah.
do still think that Willie could have some kind of ulterior motive.
Hmm.
Like he doesn't have to have all like he doesn't have to have what his predecessor uh their intentions in mind, you know? He could have his
Yeah,
own thing.
yeah.
I
I
also do
agree.
want to note that the commander, I think you mentioned this last time, it doesn't seem very discriminatory against the Eldians. Because even he's like, a lot of people are gonna die. And then Willie is
Yeah,
like, oh, but they're Eldians, they're devils. And he's kind of like,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. This
Yeah,
is
and then Willie says this here, yeah.
it's a totally random thought, but I wouldn't be surprised if, as some sort of twist, the commander ended up being like an Eldian.
That would make
I don't know in universe how easy it is to tell if someone's an Eldian,
hmm
um,
yeah.
but I wouldn't think it would be that easy because John was able to like hide in the Marleyan society without an armband or anything.
And I mean, if he was like half
Um,
and half, maybe, then it would be very difficult to tell as well.
yeah.
It could be
Yeah.
happening. Yeah.
So yeah, that's that. I guess you had some more things before my first thing.
I just had a brief thing. If you go to around 720, I don't think this is anything. I just wanted to like briefly bring attention to it. When Eren is about to smash all the soldiers, like body slam them all,
Oh
there's
right.
one that just stares right at him. Go like
Yeah.
a few seconds before that. Also, that's my next thing. Sophia got smacked.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
that guy. Do you think that there's anything to read into there? Or you think he was just
I
kind
was
of,
thinking about that because
yeah.
I don't know, it's kind of significant, right? Like
Yeah,
why would
everyone
that
else is
happen?
dying and then it pans in on him and just like
Yeah. I think that he was supposed to be like a very high ranking one, right? Like
yeah. I mean he had a lot of like sashes and stuff on, so yeah, I would assume so.
what I sort of interpreted it as was like him accepting like that this is his like him paying for his actions, you know, as sending all of these Eldians to die.
Yeah.
Now it's finally coming back to bite him.
Yeah, that
And
makes sense. He's paying for
yeah, that was all I interpreted as. It could be something deeper, but that's what I thought.
Yeah, and then the next thing that I think you definitely predicted this last week is that Zofia would die, and then
Yeah.
Udo gets trampled by like a bunch of people. So I
Yeah.
think now we only have Gabby and
Cool.
Falco.
Or Falco. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Zofia, I don't know if I actually said it, but in the episode did I mention the whole black cat thing before?
Black Cat, yeah, or no?
Okay.
I believe that was the episode before, but you definitely predicted that. You should tell.
Yeah, because it was just a really dumb, and it was obvious, right? But Zofia gets hugged by this like drunk guy who eventually dies in this episode, and then the black cat walks by, right? And then I was like, okay, well, Zofia's probably gonna die.
I believe there was also a comment that you pointed out too by his wife or something that was like,
yeah, his wife says something like, oh, like you hugging her is only gonna bring her bad luck or something like that.
As we can see, it did.
We didn't even see her face, just her legs trampled.
Yeah, we just heard Udo screaming her name.
Yeah. Cool. What next?
Yeah, I mean, there was something at 8:15. We just see the Warhammer Titan for the first time, which I think was cool. We could see how strong, and I didn't know like all the things about the Warhammer Titan. I mean, they didn't reveal it, but the fact that it can like manipulate things around and just kind of create whatever it wants is really cool. Like it can make swords, it can make spikes in the ground. You know, all that stuff is really cool, I think, and something that we know before. So the Warhammer Titan seems really OP.
Yeah, well, yeah, it does seem like it's like the master of hardening, which you would think that like the armored Titan would be.
Yeah.
But I don't know, maybe like creating things with the hardening, because there's the hardening that Eren does on his fists, and then there's the hardening he does like when he creates like, you know, like a statue of himself in the fight against Bertolt. So yeah, maybe it's the latter type of hardening that the Warhammer Titan is good at.
Yeah.
I also thought it was cool, like when we see shots of the Warhammer's eyes, we see that basically it's like meaty. It's like this meaty little body inside of
it looks like armor.
Armor, essentially.
Which I think is really cool.
I mean, armor Titan. But,
yeah,
I thought it was a cool design, and we had talked about this before, but I think it was probably the better thing to do for Willy to be the decoy.
I agree.
Because this showed that Marley was also prepared for this attack. Yeah, and they wouldn't let their Warhammer Titan just do this. And I'm so glad that the Paradis people didn't know, because that would have just been too, like, I would have felt cheated if they somehow knew, right? Like, Paradis needed to lose a little bit here.
Yeah, and I think this episode actually does a really good job of like going back and forth. Like, there's a lot of times where like Eren seems like he's like destroying the Warhammer Titan, and then it just quickly flips where he gets stabbed to the stomach, and then he's about to lose, we think, and then Mikasa shows up, and then he's about to win. He has the egg in his hand, and then Colt shows up, the Jaw Titan, and we think he's gonna lose, and then Levi shows up. I think that was really cool. Like, I was on edge the entire episode.
Totally. Yeah. Never felt like either of them were like totally gonna win.
Definitely. Yeah. It was a roller coaster.
Yeah. Okay, I guess. Oh, there was one thing I actually wanted to mention from earlier on in the episode that I forgot to mention. But at 2:12, I think, basically Willy just mentions that there are conspirators working with Paradis.
Yeah.
So there are people in the Marley government or military maybe who are working with the Paradis people, and I was just a little bit confused about how that worked. Like, how did Paradis get people sort of on their side, and like when did they? Yeah.
Go back to the previous line really quick. Before we do
Just
see our next one. I mean, what I would imagine is that they've just been here for a long time. Like maybe Jean and Eren have been here for a long time, and other people, and they've just somehow made their way into military. I don't think that there's any high-ranking people, possibly, unless maybe. No, I think this is too wild. I was gonna say maybe the commander is working with them, but I think that's way too way too far-fetched. Yeah, I think maybe they just slowly work their way in, and yeah, because it has been 4 years.
Because well, the one thing that I was thinking too was that Eren was able to like don the outfit of the Eldians, but everyone else is wearing like their ODM gear, or they're wearing, like Jean was wearing just like a normal overcoat.
Yeah.
But if we think back to last episode, who we think is Armin was wearing like just a soldier's outfit. And I don't know if that's not like it really might not be Armin. Like that might be one of these people who's in the Marleyan military. Just because I'm still like, it's a very small thing, but I'm still caught up on the idea that Peak never actually saw Armin. Unless he was burnt to a crisp. But yeah, that's my little mini theory, is that the person who we saw last episode actually wasn't Armin. It was one of these conspirators that Willy refers to here.
Yeah, it would make that statement though with the beard part a little bit weird, but I do see your point in that she didn't really see him. I feel like that's something Attack on Titan would do. It like make us like try to think it's obviously Armin, just like with Willy. He's definitely the Warhammer Titan. And then just pull the rug out under us. So I could see it going that way. I think maybe something to say is like I don't think any main characters maybe infiltrated. Maybe it's just that like there's people in the military that still like are acting like they're a part of the military even in this chaos, you know. Like it doesn't necessarily have to be the main people from Paradis.
Yeah, because as we saw, there were a bunch of new people in the Survey Corps.
Definitely,
if that's even what they still are. You signaled this moment, and this is, I mean, just Peak. That was a big brain move right there.
It was a big brain move, yeah. So cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and there's not much analysis here, but this moment is just too cool.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
She's just terrified. Yeah. It was such a great, and that scene where them just going through the city is just, oh my god, it's so amazing. And what do you think about their new ODM gear? They have like guns now that they shoot. Do you notice that?
Yeah, I saw that. It's cool. It's good. It's good for this particular setting, because they're now shooting people. But that is something that I think we're leading into nicely. The sort of discussion that Mikasa and Eren have on top of Eren.
Exactly. Yes.
I think that's a good thing to get into now.
I think this is one of the bigger parts of the episode that we can actually analyze.
Yeah, one of the more brainy parts.
Yeah, and I think this kind of thing comes up a few other times in the episode, and I noted them down as well, but we'll go into this one first.
And just for the love of it, I'm gonna play the entrance.
Yeah.
今だ、ミカサ。
What a way to come in.
Here now. Yeah.
What a way to come in.
What a way. And we didn't expect any less. Come on.
Yeah, of course.
Mikasa was already such a baller before.
Mm-hmm.
and now she's at a 4-year time gap. She's armed to the teeth with what looks like are like newer versions of like the lightning rods that they had before. And yeah, it's just such a clean entrance.
Definitely. Eren's words as well is just now or never, Mikasa, and she just comes in. But yeah, this discussion right here, what do you think about it?
Yeah, I think this brings us to the biggest like brainy thing of this episode, which is that even amongst the Paradis forces, there's a lot of sort of contention or disagreement on how they should go about this, or maybe even whether they should be going about this attack on Marley.
Yeah.
And so I think we can identify on the side of like, let's go all in, is like Eren and Floch.
Yes.
And then it seems like Mikasa and Jean are sort of on the opposite side.
Yeah. As far as what we know, like those are the 4 people at least that we know their stances. And there was one line, I believe it was something like, "You guys actually came." And I'm curious as to like who that means. Does that mean everyone? Like, was he not expecting anyone to come and help him, or was he just not expecting maybe like Mikasa, Jean, and like some other people?
Yeah. It's hard because like, so he was sending letters via Falco, right?
Yeah, to someone.
To someone.
Mhm.
But it didn't seem like he was receiving letters.
Yeah.
So I don't think
What
I
I
think
would,
maybe Eren. Yeah, I'll say that I think that maybe Eren knows that Mikasa doesn't agree with this attack on Marley.
Yeah.
And so that's what the line basically means is, oh, like you guys actually came even though you disagree with what I'm doing. Yeah, and like he had been sending letters to them probably.
So do you think like the random people were already just gonna come anyways, or do you think expected like 0 turnout?
I don't think Eren actually expected 0 turnout. I think in Eren's heart of hearts, he had to know that at least Mikasa would come, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't think he knew that it just really depends on how long he's been here, because he might even be confused that the Survey Corps has this many members, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe they're not even in the Survey Corps. Maybe they're in the garrison or something, and they're brought over for this reason. But yeah, I think he's surprised that they kind of went all in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And this also brings another question to my mind. Is like, why is Eren doing all this then? Like, if there's obviously so much like opposition and he knows that this is wrong, there has to be some really big reason why he's doing all this.
I think everyone agrees that they should attack Marley, but I don't think that they all agree on how to do it. Specifically, like Eren coming out here and like killing kids and stuff.
Yeah, a whole building full of people. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to think because on one hand, I think they kind of have already been setting the stones throughout the whole series that Eren is going to attack no matter what. He is the attack titan. He swore to kill like the Titans, but ended up basically like he kind of got blue balled there because he finds out that the Titans are just like Eldians. And he still needs to kill his enemies, right? And that's what he says at the end of last episode. Like, this is a personality trait of me, is that I won't stop until I kill all my enemies.
Yeah.
So I won't be surprised if there is no bigger reason.
Yeah, I suppose. Do you think he's working on collecting all the Titans as well? Just one last thing on this.
I think so.
It definitely seems that way. Going straight for the.
Yeah, because I mean that's what he did with Willy, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Assuming he was the.
Yeah, but going on to, I briefly talked about this earlier. Are we done talking about this? Do you have anything else to add really quickly?
No, I think this is good.
It's about 14:15, and this is going to go into something that we saw in the trailer. We see a brief scene of Levi swinging through trees and killing Titans.
Right.
And I think it was a little bit before this, maybe 14:12. Yeah, I watch on Hulu and he watches here, so the timers are a little bit off.
Okay.
Yeah, around here. If you hit play, there's a line that says something about get the soldiers from the mountain.
Oh, right.
And what I took that as is Levi's going to be here for sure, because I think that scene that we saw in the trailer takes place in like this mountain area, and maybe that's where they're gonna go next. And so that right there, yeah, that's what told me Levi was definitely gonna come. I didn't know how, I didn't know where. I just knew that Levi was in Marley, and I could just be reading too far into this, but it at least gave me some insight, and we saw that he was here. And I don't know if it's
Yeah.
but yeah, I just wanted to briefly talk about that.
Yeah, that's yeah, I didn't get that, but that makes sense now hearing. Yeah, because why would we have another scene of like Levi killing Titans in Paradis? Like, yeah, it would make sense if Levi goes to this special forces in the mountains and like they're just totally getting wrecked and they just go Titan mode.
Yeah, and something else I'm thinking is that all happened before here, so they're gonna call the soldiers from the mountain, and Levi's just killed them all.
Oh,
That's another
yeah.
theory I'm having, but it could. I mean, it could be either before or after. I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
Maybe want to talk about that really quickly.
I think maybe let's. Okay, there's two more things I kind of want to touch on. One is the scene with Jean and Floch. Is it right before this or no? I think
it's about
1540.
About. I mean, probably like there it is.
Yeah. Right. So first off, we get the introduction, like the full introduction of Jean, which I was happy about. Right, and he's angry at Floch because they're like just gonna blow up this building. Yeah. So this how they massacred humanity inside the walls. Yes, that happened. They're coming, and you're still saying that. The one thing that this made me think was that kind of going back to the two factions of Paradis, those who are total like bloodthirsty and like think that Marley should die, and those who a little bit more conservative in their approach. To me, it feels like the agreed upon with the brass of Paradis, so probably Hanji, is to be a little bit more conservative and not kill a bunch of civilians. Just the way that Jean comes at him with like, you're still saying that, makes me think that like they all sort of agreed, okay, we're gonna chill. But then there are these other like people like Floch and like the people who are helping him, assumedly, who think that now let's torch this place.
Yeah, it seems like they definitely knew the truth that Eren found out about how like it is just Aldeans, and it just seems like they don't care. I mean, if you go like maybe like 5 seconds later on, he knows that it's evil. Like he has a line, I think it's right after this. One more. Yeah, it says we need a devil like this. So they seem to know that like they need to, what they're doing is wrong, but it kind of is a necessary evil, I feel like is what their stance is. So maybe they could be justified. I don't really know. I think it may be over the top. Like he didn't need to be torching that building. I think Floch has always been problematic. Isn't he the one that was like that wanted Erwin to be revived instead of
yeah, but honestly I'm with Floch.
I agree with him. But he is always like a problematic.
Oh yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah, he's always been hating on the other people in the Survey Corps. And then the other thing I wanted to touch on is the brief scene we have with Sasha and Connie and Gabby, honestly. Because I think that this maybe gives us a little bit of hint as to where Sasha lies on the spectrum. But we see Gabby. These two soldiers have kind of been around for a few episodes. Like talk to them, and then bam, just gunned down like that. She looks up. It's Sasha. Of course it is. Good aim. And yeah, they look at each other. Connie side blocked off. Let's go, Sasha. There's one more thing after this that you noted, and we both noted that we should talk about. But just I think we should think about like Sasha. Like Sasha looks Gabby in the eyes, and Gabby looks Sasha in the eyes. Like that's we see Sasha right here. And I don't know how intentional this is, but like they look very similar, right? Like Gabby and Sasha. And so I think Sasha is probably looking upon Gabby like, oh wow, like this is like if someone did this to my people, Like,
Yeah,
when I was a
I
kid.
think that she definitely understands where Gabby's coming from here.
Yeah.
I don't think a scene where Gabby just loses it. I think that's gonna be very indicative of where her character's going.
Mhm.
There's a scene where she just clenches her teeth and just like screams. I think that was really good.
Yeah, totally. And right after this, she grabs the gun. It's like a half-second thing, but she grabs the gun and she keeps going.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think that this shows that regardless of where you lie on the spectrum of the Paradis people on like how hard you should go against the Marleyans, I think that anybody is going to have to be confronted with the other side. Eren is going to have to think about the fact that he did just kill some kids,
Definitely.
and Sasha, or no, and the people who are like probably more conservative are going to have to think about the fact that like these are the people that are trying to kill them and the people that like cause them to live in the walls.
Yeah, they're definitely gonna both have to make a realization and get a little bit closer to each other's side, at least.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Is the light thing that you were talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think this means?
I don't know. I was thinking about this because it seems like it's sort of setting something up.
Yeah.
But I mean, it could be as simple as like every like place that they kind of take over, they're putting a light there to keep it. But one little theory that I had that I don't know how legit this is, but let's imagine that Armin is here.
Yes.
That they're doing some sort of thing with the lights for Armin because he's going to be so freaking massive that he's going to need some sort of like guide. Yeah, I don't know, but that was the only thing I thought of.
Yeah, my initial reaction was, oh, it's probably just a signal that we've defended this. But if you look behind us, the lights are also there. I mean, I don't know how much that means, but I think that there is going to be something to this. And I think that they may be planning something. I don't know what it could be. It could be as simple as what you said about Armin needing to be able to see, or it could just be nothing, and it could just be signal, oh, we've like taken over the spot. But I think there may be something to that. I really think that there may be.
I do too. It seems weird that they would include this scene.
Yeah, definitely. Because they could have shown Connie and Sasha doing anything else. It didn't necessarily have to be just that, but they definitely focus on it. But yeah.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much what we wanted to go over.
Yeah. There was actually one more scene if you still have it open. We just see I mean, after this we just see the Warhammer Titan and we see Eren fighting. Basically, we find out that he's on the stage. And then there's a scene, it's at the end after Colt comes around 2:20 or 22, sorry, like on the dot. That I just think is really cool and should be pointed out.
Oh, the one where
they're all coming in on him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he sees them and he's like, oh, these are the Paradis Devils.
Yeah.
This scene right here. And pause it real quick. I wanted to note something before. This is just a really cool thing that I noted. Levi has the old ODM gear. Did you notice that? They all have these new ones. Watch their shadows as they come in. You see Levi, like everyone else is going like this, and then Levi has them come out from his pelvis.
Oh, really? I didn't notice that.
Watch. Or did it already pass? Let's see. Oh no, it's right here. Look.
Oh.
Yeah. That was really cool, and I really like that because I mean, like Levi's been working with these like his whole life. You know, like he's not as new as the other ones will, and so I think that's gonna be like his style throughout the entire show. He just keeps those.
Yeah.
But also, I think that scene with Colt, like basically facing like his death and seeing like these devils of Paradis was honestly kind of hard to watch for me. Not in like bad. Sorry.
Porco or?
Oh, sorry, Porco, not Colt. Yeah, Porco. And I just think that it was a really cool way of painting the Paradis people as the villains. Because I mean, at this point, I was kind of like, man, that's tough. You know, that's tough. I don't want to see that happen. But I think it's a really good way of kind of flipping the narrative and showing like, okay, like the people who we thought were good this whole time are actually maybe kind of evil. In some way, you know? Definitely paints in a different light. But yeah, that was the last comment I wanted to make. And I don't know if you want to talk about the preview at all. Do you want to talk about that at all, or should we?
I think we should probably.
We should?
Yeah. Okay. Or no, we should probably wrap.
Okay, then we'll just talk about that when we see the next episode.
Yeah, and we will see you then.
Yeah, like, subscribe. We'll see you guys next week. Yeah.